Where we left off was I did close the amendments, however I will reopen it to bring in the substitute version, and Leslie just handed out the substitute version on the red line, and at this time I would need a motion to adopt the substitute version. Motion by C. Conrad Stewart, second by Duke Goes Ahead. All in favor, raise your right hands. Pat, what's your vote? All opposed? All abstained? Motion carries. 15-0-0. And moving on to the second reading. Carlson goes ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, legal, executive legal team. At this time, Mr. Speaker, I make a motion to go to final roll call with the new amendment attached.
Waive second reading.
Waive second reading.
Need a second?
Second.
Second by Conrad Stewart. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstained? Motion carries 16-0-0. Great, you proceed. It's your vote.
James, yes. Rogers, yes.
Stewart, Douglas, yes.
Hill, body move about yes. Burden ground, yes.
Groveland, Lodgegrass, yes.
Oldenburger, yes.
Big one.
Smaller is big one, yes. Deep Creek, Arrow Creek, yes.
Goes ahead, Dasha, yes.
Hug Zero Creek, yes. Good luck, Mighty Field, yes.
Stewart, Mighty Few, yes.
Real Bird, Mighty Few, yes.
Old Cross, Virginia, yes. Vote is 16-0-0. Legislation is passed. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. We got comments. Do you want me to have a comment to make?
Thank you, Mr. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you to all the members of the body for your timely action on this matter and your support of the gaming plan and strategy to enhance the tribe's gaming operations for the long-run future. Again, thank you very much.
Moving on to the bills and old business. A bill for an act entitled an act to amend Title 18 Business Organizations of the Crow Law and Order Code by adopting Chapter 1 Purpose, Policy, and Administration and Chapter 5 the Upsaluget Corporation Code and rescinding CLB 06-16. This is an Economic Development Committee. Bryce Sykes, Chairman. You have someone designated to read it into record.
Yep.
The floor recognizes Bill Watt.
Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, again, Margaret Hershak would like to read this into the record for the body. On behalf of the executive branch.
Ms. Hershak.
Thank you, Speaker, Secretary, and members of the body. I have here a bill for an act entitled An Act to Amend Title 18 Business Organizations of the Crow Law and Order Code by adopting Chapter 1, Purpose and Policy and Administration, and Chapter 5 of the Apsolica Corporation Code and rescinding CLB 05-16.
Need a motion by Conrad Stewart,
Motion to adopt.
second by Carlson Goes Ahead. Proceed.
Legislative findings. Whereas the Crow Tribal Legislature, the legislature, is vested with the power and duty pursuant to Article 5, Section 2A of the Crow Constitution to promulgate and adopt laws, resolutions, ordinances, codes, regulations, and guidelines in accordance with the Constitution and applicable federal laws. And whereas the Crow Tribal Executive Branch is vested with the power and responsibility pursuant to Article 4, Section 3G of the Crow Constitution to enforce all laws, ordinances, resolutions, regulations, or guidelines passed by the legislature, providing for various purposes, and whereas in order to promote economic development for the Crow tribe and its members, it is necessary and desirable to establish a legal framework for organizing individually owned business entities under tribal law in order to expand the private business sector on the reservation, and whereas Title 18 was reserved by CLB 05-08 enacting the Crow Law and Order Code, and Title 18 was designated business organizations by CLB 07-06 enacting the Apsolica Limited Liability Act, and whereas CLB 05-16 creating an Office of Business Entity registration has not yet been implemented and is inconsistent with this legislation, CLB 05-16 should be rescinded, and whereas Title 18 Chapters 1 through 5 should be codified in the Crow Law and Order Code. Now, therefore, be it enacted by the Crow Tribal Legislature, Section 1, Adoption, Chapter 1 of Title 18 Business Organizations, entitled Purpose, Policy, and Administration, and Chapter 5 of Title 18, entitled Apsolica Corporation Code, attached hereto and incorporated by reference, are adopted as the law of the Crow Tribe. Section 2, Rescission of Prior Legislation. The legislation adopted through passage of CLB 05-16 is rescinded and replaced by Chapter 1 of Title 18, Purposes, Policy, and Administration. Section 3, Effective Date. Upon approval of this bill, the Act shall become effective immediately. Section 4, Codification Instructions. Upon approval, the Act shall be codified as Title 18, Chapter 1, and Chapter 3 of the Crow Law and Order Code.
Thank you. We have a 30-minute presentation.
Yes, the Corporation Code is important for the Crow tribe, not only in terms of supporting the economic development and allowing for contracts, but it also complements the Limited Liability Code. It's still under review by CDFI, and Sean Reelbird has been working on that. We understand we'll be continuing to work with the committee to review it. Thank you, Speaker.
Anyone else? Anyone else in the body as a proponent? As proponent? Going once? Going twice? I will cease the 30-minute presentation. We'll ask now the Economic Development Chair for his recommendation. Bryce Hooks.
All right, yeah, we had a meeting on January 8th. There was 8 members present. Thank you, Speaker, Secretary, Audie, yes. We went through it pretty fast, and
the committee and myself as chair, we want to send it back to committee to review it more. And I would like to make the motion to reserve the first reading of the bill in its entirety so the Economic Development Committee can review the proposed code. And we'll go through this in committee. The Crow Land and Order Code, Chapter 1 and Chapter 3. So,
Is that in the form of a motion to
yeah,
send it to
it's a
committee?
motion.
Second.
Second by Carlson goes ahead. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstain? Motion carries 16-0-0. It is still, it will be still in the Economic Development Committee. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. A bill for enacting an act to amend Title 23 of the Crow Law and Order Code by revising the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance. This is in the Economic Development Committee. Bryce Huggs, Chairman of the committee. Do you have someone designated to read into record?
Yeah.
Beardo Walk will be doing that if you don't mind.
Mr. Beardo Walk. Give the floor to read into record.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Secretary, members of the body. Have here a bill for an act titled An Act to Amend Title 23 of the Crow Law and Order Code by revising the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance.
We have a motion to adopt. By Gordon Milburn, second by Bryce Huggs. Proceed.
Whereas Article 5, Section 2A of the Crow Tribal Constitution vests the Crow Tribal Legislature, hereinafter legislature, with the power and duty to promulgate and adopt laws and resolutions in accordance with the Crow Tribal Constitution and federal law for the governance of the Crow Tribe. And whereas Article 4, Section 4A of the Crow Tribal Constitution provides that the general duties of the executive branch officials shall include the duty to implement all laws, resolutions, and policies duly adopted by the legislature. And whereas Title 23 of the Crow Law and Order Code, titled Crow Gaming Ordinance, sets forth the standards for the regulation of the conduct of gaming on lands subject to the jurisdiction of the Crow Tribe. And whereas the Crow Tribe is vested with the inherent authority and responsibility to regulate the conduct of gaming on its lands. And whereas the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, 25 U.S.C. subsections 2701 et sequitur, requires Indian tribes to adopt an ordinance governing the conduct of gaming on Indian lands in order to engage in or license and regulate such gaming. And whereas the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act sets forth certain standards with which tribal gaming ordinances must comply, and the National Indian Gaming Commission has adopted regulations to ensure that tribal gaming ordinances meet those standards. And whereas the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act requires all tribal gaming ordinances to be approved by the chairperson of the National Indian Gaming Commission. And whereas the Crow Tribe has a strong interest in protecting the integrity of gaming activities conducted on its lands and ensuring that such activities comply with all applicable laws. And whereas the Crow Tribal Legislature enacted a joint action resolution on June 17, 2013 to amend Title 23 of the Crow Law and Order Code to revise the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance for submission to the National Indian Gaming Commission. And whereas the National Indian Gaming Commission recommended a number of revisions to the amended Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance to conform to federal regulatory requirements. And whereas on October 8, 2013, a committee of the Crow Tribal Legislature authorized amendments to the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance as passed by the Crow Tribal Legislature on June 17, 2013 to conform to federal regulatory requirements. And whereas the National Indian Gaming Commission approved the revised Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance on December 18, 2013, and whereas it is essential to the economic security and the health, safety, and general welfare of the Crow Tribe and the visitors to the Crow Indian reservations that revisions to these standards and regulations be made to govern the conduct of gaming activities on the Crow Indian Reservation in order to properly reflect the new constitutional form of Crow Tribal government and to enhance the accountability to the Crow Tribe and due process for regulated entities. Now, therefore, be it enacted as Crow Tribal law by the Crow Tribal Legislature. Section 1. The Crow Tribal Legislature and the Crow Tribal Executive Branch hereby ratify the terms of the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance of 2013 as approved by Legislative Committee on October 8, 2013, and approved by the National Indian Gaming Commission on December 18, 2013. Section 2, the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance codified at Title 23 of the 2005 Crow Law and Order Code is hereby amended to reflect the changes made as a result of enactment of the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance of 2013 as contained in this Act. Section 3, the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance of 2013 shall be included as an attachment to this Act.
Thank you. You have 30 minutes for your presentation.
This Act, joint action resolution, incorporates the final changes reviewed with the legislature in October and as approved by the NIGC. It's been discussed in the Economic Development Committee with Secretary Gordon Reelberg, who has been handling gaming items for the committee. And it's important to finally complete the gaming ordinance amendments to support the tribe's plans for additional casino development on the Crow Reservation. Thank you.
Any more comments? Floor recognizes Secretary Wilbur.
Thank you, Speaker, members of the body, Executive, Legal, Legal J. We passed this law, I think it was last year, I think it was July. But we had to make some amendments to this ordinance because at the time, and the NIGC was in agreement to look at a rough draft on this. So any kind of minor changes that needed to be changed, we would come back to the committee and approve it. And the last one we approved was in October. And then there was just a few minor changes again. So that's what we did with this. Right now, this document is at the NIGC. It's already being approved. So this is just basically saying we approve this document that they have over there. So that's why we have to bring it back onto the floor for approval. So, who cares? If anybody else wants to add anything more to it.
Floor is open for proponents. As Secretary Gilbert stated, there were a few minor adjustments that they had to bring in as amendments to the gaming ordinance to ensure the passage with NIGC. So anyone else want to make any statements in regards to the proponents? Going once? And twice. We'll move on to Economic Development Chair's recommendation. Bryce Sucks.
All right, thank you, Speaker, Secretary, Legislative Body, yes, Executive. We had a meeting on the 8th, January 8th, and there was 12 members present. And as Economic Development Chairman, I recommend for passage, and the committee voted 12-0-0, so all in favor.
Thank you. Floor is now open for debate. Floor recognizes Conrad Stewart.
I just wanted to ask a question real quick to our legal counsel. So basically, this is something that, I mean, this is just a formality, right? So we're just, because I had the understanding that when we did pass it at first, that's what prompted to go to NIGC, and now we have these amendments, so I guess I'm kind of confused. I just need that clarification.
You want to answer that question? Okay, floor recognizes Jay Harris.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a good question because I think you may not be alone, Senator Stewart, in needing some clarity on what's happening with the federal review process. The legislature, as you recall, we passed legislation earlier this year, which did precisely what this bill revised Title 23, the Crow Tribal Gaming Ordinance. We, executive branch, that has submitted that legislation in its final form to the NIGC, and what we understand is they gave a conditional approval. The condition was we had to make further technical amendments which are contained in this legislation. So in a sense you can say that this tribal gaming ordinance is pre-approved. We have to go through the formality of actually making those technical revisions in order for NIGC to give the official federal approval. And if everybody's clear in that understanding, that's an important question. I'm glad you brought it up, because this is the I think the third time that we've passed legislation within a 12-month period, and the reason is because of these technical revisions. So I kind of joked that, considered me to be technical, I don't have anything to do with NIGC, but the key is to get it right, because it is a relatively important area that we're technically revising. It's the language concerning Privacy Act disclosure, background checks, and that sort of thing. So it's been lawyered up enough to the point where we know it's going to be approved, and in fact, it pretty much has its conditional approval, and this is the last formality that takes place. So legislature gives approval of those technical revisions, then NIGC will go through the formality of giving official approval. So that's basically where we're at in the process.
Floor is crossing, goes ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and Secretary, members of the body. This question goes to legal jail again. Okay, so in the next time, this is just my question. Next time, I know that we pre-approved, but it has to come back for our approval for the final. In order for NIGC to accept it, we have to approve it, the amendments. So, putting the cart before the horse is my question. Kind of like that. Let's put it that way. I think everybody understands that. I think that's the clarification Senator Stewart was also asking too. So we approve something, the cart before the horse again. So.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Legal J. Okay, it wasn't really cart before the horse. NIGC had to see something that was passed by the legislature, and we did pass it with those amendments that were required. And once we passed that requirement, NIGC had to review, and there was a few minor things that needed to be done to be in compliance to do their final approval. Am I correct?
Yeah. Oh, that is correct. Yeah.
For the record, can you say yes or no?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, that is a good explanation, and this is similar to what's happening with the Crow Mining Code and the Crow Coal Mining Code and Reclamation Act. Same kind of process. So this isn't the only time we'll be going through a preliminary federal approval and then coming back and ratifying changes. Hopefully it will be the last legislative action for some time, and hopefully the next legislative action on this ordinance would be ratification or confirmation of the new appointments to the Crow Tribal Gaming Commission. But long story short, you basically have a federally approved gaming ordinance that needs to be tweaked up technically, and that's what's before the body now.
Thank you. Any more comments and debate? Going once. Going twice. Okay, the debate is now closed. Floor is open for amendments. Floor recognizes Secretary Wilbur.
Speaker, members of the body, executive, legal, there's just a typo here, and it should be a typo on a second page, first whereas. It shouldn't actually say the joint action resolution because this was a CLB. So I think that would either be a motion or just be a typo. How would that work, Legal J?
Organize, Mr. Harris.
Probably the best way to proceed here would be for, and I know executive is in agreement, to make a amendment to change joint action resolution to either tribal legislation or CLB. The purpose of the amendment, of course, is to clarify. We're on safer ground doing it that way versus deeming it clerical, but we know what the intent is to basically explain what happened earlier in 2018, and we did pass a CLB in that special session, so this bill should reflect that the body did pass a CLB and not a joint action resolution. So that amendment would be for clarification's sake.
Is that in the form of a motion?
I want to make a motion to change the typo and change it to CLB.
Second.
Second by Carlson goes ahead. All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed? All abstained? Motion carries. Any more amendments? Okay, the floor is now closed to amendments. Question may be called at any time that would close the door for amendments. Question by Carlson goes ahead. Okay, you need a second reading or waive second reading? Need a motion on that?
Waive second reading.
Vice President's motion to waive second reading
To move,
and move to final rules with amendments.
and go to a final roll call vote.
Vice President's motion to waive second reading with amendments, move to final roll call vote. Need a second by Carlson goes ahead. All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. Greg, you may proceed.
Yeah, it's Black Cloud, yes. Rogers, Black Cloud, yes.
Stewart Backlot, yes.
Keo, Guadalupe Cabana, yes. Burgundy, Guadalupe Cabana, yes. Grove on Matchgrass, yes. Alden, Bighorn, yes.
Bighorn, yes.
Spotted Oars, Bighorn, yes.
Deep Creek, Apple Creek, yes. Goes ahead, Baltimore, yes.
Hugs, Arrow Creek, yes. Good luck, Mighty Few, yes.
Stewart, Mighty Few, yes. Wilbur, Mighty Few, yes.
Old Cross, say yes. Motion carries 16-0-0, law. Moving next on the agenda. A bill for an act entitled, an act to amend the Crow Tribal Elections Ordinance to provide tribal members the option of absentee voting in all future tribal elections. This is in the Judicial Committee. Senator Wilbur, you have designated someone to read it into record.
Yes, I would like to designate Senator Burton Brown. He proposed the bill to read into record.
Floor recognizes Mr. Burton.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, Executive, Legal J. An act to amend the Crow Tribal election ordinance to provide tribal members the option of absentee voting in all future tribal elections.
Need a motion to adopt? Larry Suggs, need a second. Mason Rogers, seconds. Proceed.
Whereas pursuant to Article 5, Section 2A of the Crow Tribal Constitution, the Crow Tribal Legislature hereafter legislators is vested with power and duties to promulgate and adopt laws, resolution, ordinance, codes, regulations, and the guidelines in accordance with the Crow Tribal Constitution and federal laws for the governance of the Crow Tribal or the Crow Tribe of the Indians, and whereas Article 6, Section 5 of the Crow Tribal Constitution provide that the legislature shall adopt a comprehensive election ordinance which shall prescribe procedure for the conduct of elections, nominations, secret balloting, resolving election disputes, and including provisions regarding the conduct of recall and referendum elections, and whereas Title 21 of the Crow Law and Order Code contains the Crow Tribal Election Ordinance, hereafter election ordinance, and whereas Article 8, Section 17 of the Election Ordinance contains and reserves the section titled Absentee Voting, and whereas many members of the Crow Tribal General Council are not able to cast votes in tribal elections due to military service, college attendance being located outside the Crow Indian Reservation for extended periods of time due to other personal commitments, the high cost of field transportation, adverse weather conditions, and conflicting schedule matters, and whereas the Tribal Secretary Office, along with the Election Commission and the Election Judge, have demonstrated a high level of professionalism, administrative, and competence in the conduct of the Crow Tribe election, and whereas the legislature now seeks to establish the right to absentee voting in order to ensure all members of the Crow Tribal Council may exercise their right to vote by secret ballot in all future upcoming Crow Tribal elections. Now therefore be it hereby enacted by the Crow Tribal Legislature in regular session as the Crow Tribal Law. Section 1. Amendment to the Crow Tribal Election Ordinance, Title 21 of the Crow Law and Code Title Election, and also known as the Election Ordinance, is hereby amended at Article 8, Section 17 shall, upon the effective date of this act, read as the follows. Section 17, Absentee Voting. Right to absentee voting. Every member of the General Council shall have a right to cast their vote by absentee ballot in all primary and general elections for executive branch, legislative branch, judicial branch positions, and in all special elections called by the Secretary for the purpose of filling vacancies in the elected positions, initiative, referendums, recall, removal, constitutional amendments, and tribal ratification votes. All such absentee voting shall be by secret ballot and conducted in accordance with this section. Requests for absentee ballots, primary general elections for tribal officials, no more than 90 calendar days and not less than 7 calendar days prior to a primary election. Any member of the General Council may request from the Secretary's office to vote by absentee ballot in the upcoming election cycle upon the signatures, indictments, and agreement that the voter shall not have the right to vote in the upcoming election by traditional means. The voter shall receive one absentee ballot for the upcoming primary and one absentee ballot for the upcoming general election. The ballot shall not be numbered consecutively and shall contain an appropriate number of a blank line, including the allowable number of voters which may be casted. The ballot shall be filled in by the voter by writing the name of the certified candidates of their choice. The secretary shall prepare and approve the absentee ballot, including district affiliation if applicable, and including instructions on the ballot which indicates in plain language the requirements of this section. Provided in the event no primary election is required, the primary election absentee ballot shall be considered null and void, provided further that in order to receive an absentee ballot for a legislative branch, the voter must be registered in the district for the ballot requesting and may not change district registration until the completion of the upcoming election cycle. I like to take food. Yeah. Excuse me, I apologize for that. Members of the body, speaker, secretary. Requesting for the absentee ballot special election, not more than 30 calendar days and not less than 7 calendar days prior to special election. Any members of the General Council may request from the Secretary Office to vote by absentee ballot for the upcoming special election. Upon signature indicating an agreement that the voter shall not have the right to vote in the upcoming special election. By traditional means, the voter shall receive one absentee ballot for the upcoming special election. The ballot shall be numbered consecutively in a manner as to distinguish from traditional ballots by ballots, but shall otherwise be identical to the traditional ballots. The Secretary prepare and approve the absentee ballot, including instructions on the ballot which indicate the plain language and requirements of this section. Number 4. Special requests for ballot by U.S. mail. Notwithstanding subsection 2 and 3 above, any member of the General Council may request by the United States mail through submitted a form to the address described in section 5 below, not more than 90 days, calendar days, and not less than 30 calendar days prior to the scheduled primary election, or not less than 7 calendar days prior to a special election. The Secretary shall prepare and approve such absentee ballots request form which may contain each of the following.
Excuse me, Mr. Burdengrund, did you want to substitute with someone else to read through?
Yes. I would like that.
Speaker recognizes Paul Hill. Oh, Eric.
Thank you, Speaker of the House, Secretary, Body, Legislative, or Legal. A signature line for the voter indicating an agreement that the voter shall not have the right to vote in the upcoming elections by traditional means. B, an address to which the Secretary shall send the absentee ballot in the United States mail. And C, a public notary signature which attests to the voter having signed the form after presenting 2 forms of ballot and government issued photo identifications, federal, state, tribal, to the notary. Upon receiving the special absentee ballot request form in the mail, the Secretary or designee shall promptly send the absentee ballot to the voter via United States mail. 5. Casting of absentee ballot by voter. All absentee ballots must be mailed to special United States Post Office box address established by the Secretary exclusively for the purpose of absentee voting and must be received on or before the applicable election day in order to be considered lawfully cast. Such mailing address shall be prepared, printed on the mailing envelope included with the absentee ballot. The Secretary shall take care that each absentee ballot issued includes 2 envelopes, an envelope of suitable size for mailing and a smaller envelope in which the actual ballot will be placed, marked only with the heading Crow Tribal Absentee Ballot, along with the subheading including the date and type of election. The mailing envelope shall contain in the return addressed area in a signature line above the voter's name printed by an authorized employee of the Secretary's office and a affidavit statement as follows. I insert name here. Hereby my signature above do solemnly swear and attest under criminal and or civil penalty or perjury that the ballot contained in this envelope has been cast by myself and represents my vote as member of the Crow Tribal General Council. All absentee ballots shall be opened and sorted by the Secretary or designee in the presence of a quorum of the Commission. The mailing envelope shall be immediately destroyed upon removing the ballot envelope. Number 7, list of absentee voters. The Secretary shall take care that the election judges have a list of all voters who have chosen to cast votes via absentee ballots in order to prevent voting by traditional means during the applicable election cycle or special election. Such list shall be considered confidential and not be made available to the public. 8, counting of absentee ballots. The Commission and election judge shall open the ballot envelopes and count all unspoiled absentee ballots in the same manner as traditional ballots. Upon being counted, absentee ballots shall be included with traditional ballots and no further distinction made as a matter of Crow Tribal law. Number 9, criminal actions defined. Any person who knowingly casts or attempts to cast an absentee ballot in violation of section shall be considered in violation of Title 8B, 6-319, forgery of the Criminal Code. Further, any persons who knowingly signs an absentee ballot mailing envelope in doing so misrepresents any material fact to the Crow Tribe shall be considered in violations of Title 8B-7-201, perjury, and our Title 8B-7-202, false swearing of the Crow Criminal Code. Finally, any person who knowingly signs a public notary statement on a special absentee ballot request form in bad faith shall be considered in violation of Title 8B-7B or 7-202, false swearing of the Crow Criminal Code. For purpose of these criminal statutes, the conduct of tribal elections shall be considered an official proceedings. 10. Civil actions available. Notwithstanding subsection 9 above, the Crow Tribe may civilly prosecute any person in Crow Tribal Court for such the prescribed action as defined in subsection 9, and upon a showing of a preponderance of the evidence that such action occurs shall be entitled to monetary judgment of $1,000 per count. Section 2, amendment to the Crow Criminal Code, Title 8B of the Crow Law and Order Code, titled Crow Criminal Code, is hereby amended in Chapter 7, Part 3 by adding a Part 311, absentee voter interference, and upon the effective date of this Act, Title 8B-7-311 shall read as follows. 8B-7 1-311, absentee voter interference. No person, whether acting under color of law or otherwise, shall knowingly interfere with, intimidate, threaten, coerce, or attempt to interfere with, intimidate, threaten, or coerce, or any member of the Crow Tribal General Council in such a manner as to discourage or prevent the right of the voter to cast an absentee ballot as provided in the Crow Tribal Elections Ordinance. The offense of the absentee voter interference in the Class A tribal offense for which the offender shall be imprisoned in the Crow Tribal Jail for any term not to exceed 1 year or be fined in an amount not to exceed $1,000 payable to the Crow Tribal Court or both. Section 3, effective date. This act shall take effect immediately upon being duly adopted by the legislatures and signed into law by the executive branch chairman.
Thank you. You have 30 minutes for presentation. Floor recognizes Eric Burnshaw and Paul Hill.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, executive, legal, and legal J. Kuka, again, it's really nice. Again, absentee ballot. Babe, kus malagulak. Is the gole when malagush big or len mushutta or shutta absalga to chill. Again, sometimes they're not with the they have to survive at they have to survive. They have to go out there and get a job. And then sometimes it's not possible to their liking or stimulate. They go out there and survive at they had zero. It's the walk. There's a storm. I go up there. And Mahaji, the politics, we wanted to have a say that there was no absentee voting. But no, you could just go, maybe we are ready for this absentee. Senator Paul, but you still might, maybe we are ready for it. They all have rights that as a whole, if we shoot for transparency, for the better of the Crow people, they wouldn't get off reservations. Are they Crows too? Should they have those rights too? I'd like to thank you.
Floor recognizes Paul Hill.
Thank you, Speaker of the House, body, legal. All right, picture that. It doesn't hurt to try something, you know. There's a lot of things that we can try, see if it will work, you know. There's a lot of Crows out there that deserve rights too to vote. And well, Spog, you know, as long as you're a member of the Crow tribe, I think you got every right to vote off the reservation. Like economy wall. There's hardly any jobs here. We don't have any apartments. Like at college, they don't play like that. They don't have any dorms. There's a lot of stuff, you know, that we don't have convenience today of this tribe, you know. but I know we're gonna get there someday. I'm not bashing it or anything like that, I'm just letting you know that, you know, there's, so like, there's a lot of people out there that leave this reservation to work. They go to school, you know, they're fighting for us, like that. They're fighting for our freedom, military, it is. You know, you get guys like Jay Harris, he's a professional, look at it, late. You know, he needs, Bazab said he come back to help the tribe. And you know, sometimes we get too, we forget about those people out there. Why did they leave? Why did they leave? Because a lot of times there's no job on the reservation to, you know, help them. So they had, you know, they leave the reservation to get a job. And if the case go, you know, it's, you guys think about it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Oh, because I said, ik door gosh, I Black Pig, Missouri, just that them. We go to that during our legislative election. She didn't have that opportunity to be able to vote. Like we should be able in DC, she was wishing me well and getting updates, but she didn't have that opportunity to vote. This would give them an opportunity to voice their vote. But anyway, the floor recognizes Eric.
Speaker, Secretary, members of the body. Like I said, we have a lot of professionals. Professionals who they go out there, they come back and they help Kotai. But then we sometimes forget about those people that are having a hard time. Those people that live in Billings that don't have the gas money to come all the way back to the reservation to vote.
Oh, Lord, there's cross and close it.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and the legal executive, Mr. Legal J. Again, I'm a proponent of this. This is high time. I'm going to use an example on the Sorlet kids here. Well, who should I pick on? Seriously, you know, I got 3 kids that are in the Seattle area. They're all voting age. And then some of you ball players that go on independence, you probably got kids on other reservations too. At voting age. Some other people that I know in here. I'm gonna go tired. You guys maybe Sunday. But you know, I want them to vote for me, and I know you guys want them to vote for you. But you know, all them Kenneth Gilbert are easy. We're just one step out of the cave. Easy. This should have been done a long time ago. But it's a good bill, and I'm a proponent of it, and I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. Floor recognizes CJ.
Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, Executive Legal. Unlike my colleague there, I'm not going to try to tell on myself, you know, but he wants to have all his kids vote for him. Yeah. That's why I took him with me when we went to ATNI. He's got some over there in the Northwest. Anyway, there's other tribes that are doing this responsibly. There's other methods that are successful, and I think, I mean, we right from the get-go, Positive Change Administration came on board. We said we got to rehash out and redo the selection ordinance and make sure that it's done right. We we brought our commissioners in here. I don't know if you guys remember, but prior to the last election, the commissioners came in here. They voiced their concerns. And they had to sneak in. They had to bargain back and come in here. That time we sat down with them. And they had concerns. And, you know, I know Bill's been their attorney for quite some time, and there's better methods of doing things. You know, we don't have to be counting votes all the way into the next day or you know, next evening, or, you know, it's time we gotta move on and try to make something work. I mean, we're living in a digital age, and, you know, we need to take advantage of this. Shoot, the executive branch has $30 million every year. Shoot, we can buy some counters, you know. I mean, invest in something that's gonna make sense. And look at, like with right now, with this bill that's in hand right now, I know right now it's opening the door to put it on a table to have discussion now. So I think what we need to start looking at is successful methods of absentee voting with other tribes. Because I hate to have it come down to a point where right now you got half of your membership that live off the reservation, and some of them even overseas and whatnot, but they don't even know who's running for what, and then they turn around, they just, you know, mark somebody's name and send it in, and shoot, you know, it's just, you know, we gotta look at how we're gonna do this, and I see benefits surrounding this. You know, they do receive a per cap out there, and I imagine they're probably married to non-members, and their kids are probably barely Crow or maybe almost Crow. And we gotta look at all of this. You know, we all make choices. You know, we all make choices, and you know, the survival of this tribe is one of the biggest things. And you know, not to step on people's toes, but there's people out there that are barely Crow, and they've made that choice. You know, I know some people make the excuse, oh, I got too many cousins, you know, that kind of thing. But what it boils down to is you got to look at how we're going to strengthen our tribe. You know, how do we do this in a responsible manner, where we're not going to, by 2020, we're not going to, you know, phase out. So this is something that we need to really consider, start looking at. I'm a proponent of this, and I too would like to see a change move about in the election ordinance, and advance it to the point where we can get have a running tally like it says from 11 o'clock, and then maybe by an hour or so certify our votes and should be done with our elections. I mean, it could be done. Other people do it. I mean, even right off the internet, you know, they vote, you know, right on the internet. You can vote. Like there's those different deals, like right in Billings, you know, with the music awards. They have voting right on the internet. You know, just submit your email. You have only one chance, but you know, there's other people with so many emails, they could probably vote a lot. But there's ways. I'm just saying, there's ways, and we gotta get out of here. Like right now, we got a lot of paper here, and I think the direction this branch is trying to go is we're trying to digitize everything through internet, emails, and whatnot. And you know, I'm a proponent of this, and I think we should move forward in the discussion of this and start making something work.
Thank you. Floor recognized Gerald Stewart.
Oh, Speaker, Secretary, Body, Legal. I guess the teoria she chupa she Puchuge Eric and the both lit by Bali. You Puchuge will ask you to Stobos, land purchase, executive cadet, I got take the set. And Bakat both lit by what the melody. And Itchy management. Spafia, what in Los Angeles, 50 years. What in Fort Worth, Duck Wheel, Bali, Itchy management. Oh.
Any more comments, Greg?
I'm a proponent for this absentee balloting, or voting. should have try to word in there. I'm pretty new at this, and I don't know how you guys go about it, but should word in there that pre-application, ahead of time, and reason for absent person.
Oh, any more comments, proponents? Okay, move on to the next line. Chair recognizes the Judicial Branch Chair, Secretary Greenberg, with recommendation.
Thank you, Speaker, members of the body, Executive, Legal J. We had a meeting, our first judicial meeting was January 8th. And we had 11 members present at the time. Our Vice Chairman, Senator D. Crane, was also present. We went through this, a little bit, talked about the election ordinance, about this bill right now. And after this long discussions on it, there was a motion made by Senator Rogers, second by Senator Burgengram. Question was by Senator D. Crane was to keep this in committee for further discussions. So that was the committee recommendation at the time, was to keep it in committee. So my recommendation as the judicial chair is keep it in committee for now for further discussions.
Is that in form of a motion? If not, we need a motion. Motion by Eric Burgengram, second by Paul Hill. All in favor, raise your hands. All opposed? All abstain? Motion carries. This will be kept in the Judicial Committee. 16-0-0. For recognize panel.
Kind of a question. I know we're got the committee recommendation on that, but comment actually. I mean, I know we're moving on with the process of keeping it in committee, but this bill is, I was kind of waiting on debate, but we're actually skipping that. So it's an election changing bill actually. When you look through it, and, it's a lot deals with this. I mean, it's not just something that we're gonna take lightly as the branch. I think is so that's what I mean. We need to get it in committee and start reviewing the language and then what it all affects. I know there's legal questions like crazy on this. It's one of those almost enrollment ones where you can open up a can of worms every direction you go on this. So that's just my comment on this. So hopefully we really pay attention to this and get it in judicial and meet on it.
Thank you. We are now completed with new business. Tomorrow we are scheduled to receive executive reports. We'll begin at 10 a.m. or as soon as we get in quorum. And then, as I stated, Thursday we have the meeting with Cloud Peak. At this time, I'll recognize Mr. Charles goes ahead.
Hirake, in recess football, can I need to get an update with all just the members only? The legislative branch?
Yeah, executive session, yeah, sure. I wanted to give, as you know, I have authority to spend up to $2,500 and $5,000 with the Secretary's signature. There's a couple items that we need to purchase, and I'll make copies of these and then I'll circulate them and get your final approval probably, if not tomorrow, Friday. What they are for are desktops. We talked about these a while back, I think a year ago, and we were going to get desktops. We did propose 8, but then we reduced it to 6 because the Secretary said he has a laptop he can use instead of a desktop, and myself also. So those two desktops we don't need. So we do need to purchase 6 new desktops because, as you know, these desktops the staff have been using are, how old are they now, Jackie? Like 5 or 6 years old? Yeah, about 5 or 6 years old. As you know, 2 years into a computer, they're already obsolete. We need to upgrade on those. And the price for the 6 would be approximately, I guess, $7,400 for the 6, and that's beyond our spending limit. Another item is the copier. We talked with Midland office, and they negotiated with secretary here, and he came up with a pretty good deal. We found a new printing system that would be better than the one we got right now. The printers also are, I believe, they're 4 years old, so we purchased them in 2009. And they keep jamming up, and we're having a lot of problems with them. And we're running this little one ragged right now because the bigger one's is having a hard time with it. Keep having to repair it almost every week. So the purchase for the new printer was going to be $2,400 or $24,000. The one we purchased in 2009 was, I believe, $22,000 at that time, and this new one is $24,000. But with Secretary's negotiation, he was able to trade in our old one for $3,000. He was only going to give us $1,000 for it, so reduced the price to $21,000 for the new printer. So that's $1,000 less than the one we purchased before. But anyway, I'll be presenting this in the form of an LR probably tomorrow or Friday for your approval. Go ahead, Cage. So anyway, need a motion to recess. Motion by Eric, second by Paul. All in favor, say aye. And we'll resume tomorrow at 10 a.m. Receive executive report.